Hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Get Real podcast. This week we're back. My name is Ned.
And Lisa.
And we're talking about relationships again. Last week we spoke about how to ready ourselves for a relationship to come. And this week we want to talk about how do we deepen the current relationship we have. And it's not that Lisa and I think that we are gurus on the topic, but we just have tried something different in our relationship, which we've had a lot of success with. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think we connect on a lot of different levels with intention. I'll start there. We had intention right from the beginning of our relationship. Yeah. That's something that I've never done before. Have you?
No, I had never done that. I did that with my other relationships. I usually just kind of fumbled my way through them, and when a problem arose, it was just like every problem that arose, it was like World War III with my partner.
Yeah.
And I sort of just went from one irritation to the next with people, never really going any deeper than the surface.
Yeah.
In those relationships. And not that I didn't have good times with my past relationships. I just couldn't get to a deeper place in those relationships.
Yeah, I had some really great partners along the way, but it was, I feel like I didn't understand taking the full responsibility of myself in that relationship. So I think I lined up for exactly where I was at that time.
So let's talk about what we did differently in this current relationship than we did in the other relationships. I'll start out with when I first met Lisa. I wanted to be just open, honest, and vulnerable with her, and that was a difficult place for me to be as a guy. However, I just knew that I needed to kind of expose myself right from the beginning. So what I did was I started to share with her, what are my weaknesses? We tend to just display all of our strengths when we get into a relationship, and we want the other person to see us in the absolute best light. So we'll just kind of show off everything that's great about ourselves. But I sort of got real and honest with Lisa, and I started sharing with her my weaknesses. And when we shared back and forth with that, we started to talk about how to handle each other in different situations,
different scenarios.
So because we readied ourselves for this relationship, we spent a bit of time getting to know who we are, what we need. So that was a big component of you and I coming together. I knew what I needed. I knew my strengths. I knew my weaknesses because I had just finished reviewing all of those things. And so I'd explain to Lisa, when I get upset, this is what I need. And I asked her, when you get upset, what do you need? So before we ever entered into an argument, and not that we've had that many, but before we ever got to the stage where we were fighting with each other, we already knew how to take care of each other in that moment.
There was a lot of peace in that.
So then on the other side of it, we started to share back and forth how we needed to be loved. And, in your past relationships, how did your partners love you, and did it work for you?
I think that they, just like I did, they loved me the way they needed to be loved, right? I did that too. It was just sort of an unconscious thing because I hadn't done the work yet in myself. Excuse me. I have an itchy throat today. That's what was great when you came to this relationship is because you were already teaching me. You were already a great partner for me because you were laying down your vulnerabilities, and you were doing the work right from the beginning. You were just, you were showing me how to do that. Like I of course wanted to show you everything, all my best that I had, but you allowed me to be, you doing it allowed me, being vulnerable allowed me to do that as well. And there was some big doozers to get out of the way, right? I think because we had that understanding that we were going to do that together, we were just going to not do what we had done previously. It allowed us to get that stuff out of the way and walk through anything.
And what you said there is key. When we love another person, we typically love them the way that we want to be loved. So we all have our own love language, they say, or we have a way that when somebody loves us in that way, we feel very cared for and respected. But in my previous relationships, I would love my partners the way I wanted to be loved, and it didn't actually match what they needed. And so Lisa and I learned very quickly that I knew that I had to love her the way she needed it, and she needed to learn how to love me the way I needed it. And so that set the groundwork for us to really deepen just a standard relationship, just getting to know each other. It was already starting to go much deeper.
Can I ask you, did that feel like a stretch to you? Because we don't always talk about how things feel, and we feel like it's not okay. Was that a stretch for you to do that for me? To meet me for my needs instead of to love me the way that I needed to be loved instead of the way you needed to be loved?
Oh, it definitely was. It was sort of alien and foreign to me when we first brought that into our relationship. But I think what initially spawned that idea was that the connection that we had from the moment we met felt so important and special that I wanted to get to know what does this person need. I knew that I would constantly give in the wrong direction, and that was a constant theme throughout my past relationships. One that I realized while doing some inner work. I realized that I was constantly giving my needs, not my partner's needs.
Oh, me too. Absolutely. I'm sure my past partners could tell you that.
So I think that's one of the keys to deepening a relationship that you're already in. We tend to assume that we know what our partner wants. We assume that our partners, if we know what they want, that they'll always want for that.
Yeah. This is the new eyes, seeing with new eyes every day, right?
So that's what Lisa and I have adopted into our relationship. Is it's important for me to look at Lisa like I don't know her. And it's so common that we generally pick people up in the last place we left them. So if you haven't seen an old friend in many years, when you find them, you just assume they're just sort of who they are, who they were when you last knew them. And we, in relationships, we tend to hold our partners to a certain standard that they've lived up to in the past. But what that doesn't allow is their growth. It doesn't allow the fact that your partner may have changed. They may have changed their mind. So every day I wake up and I try to look at Lisa like I don't know her. Who is this person? And I think that creates it brings me into the moment with you, and it allows me to see the sacredness of who this person is sitting in front of me. Lisa's changed so much in this relationship.
As have you.
As have I.
I have to allow him that space to expand and contract, because that's how he learns. That's the growth in it, right? So yeah, if I'm holding you to how fabulous you were yesterday, but today you feel a low in something, and I'm like, come on, Ned. You know, it's not fair. Then it becomes about me, and then I'm back in my issue, and I haven't grown out of that, right? Now I'm pulling your attention away, not allowing you.
And I think that's something that we quite often do, is when our partner's feeling good, things are good. But as soon as
We're
our
okay with
partner,
them.
we're okay. And then as soon as our partner is not okay,
Yeah.
or they're struggling with something, as a guy in the past, I would feel like I needed to fix my partner, and it was my job to make her happy. But I learned very quickly in this relationship that it's not my job to make you happy.
Yeah.
It's not my job to fix you.
Because sometimes you're overstepping.
I'm getting in the way of you doing your own healing, or I'm getting in the way of you doing your own process.
There's a respect with that, and I know that if I come and ask you for help, or I ask you for support, then you know it's okay too. And that's kind of the best way we work, right?
That's right. So that's another way that we deepen our relationship with our partners, is that we never assume we know what's best for them. We don't become our partner's therapist. We care for their needs, and if we don't know what their needs are, we ask them. And I don't know how many times I've talked with other people or couples, and I'll say, ask a guy, what does your partner need? And he's like, well, I get this for her and I do that. And it becomes all about that person. And so I've found myself saying quite often, maybe you should ask her. Maybe you should ask her what her needs are. Maybe she doesn't require so much of all these other things that you do. So we look after our partners the way they need to be looked after. Another way that we deepen our relationship with our partners is that we look at our partners with new eyes always. We get to looking after what their needs are and not our own. And I think the third point that I want to make in this relationship talk that we're doing is that in my past relationships, I always fought for my needs. And it was always this constant struggle of making sure that I got what I needed. And in this relationship, we changed that dynamic.
Except for with temperature.
We're
still working on.
Oh my gosh.
We're still working on that.
It's hotter
the temperature of the house. I'm always cold. He's always hot. So we're fighting for our needs there. Like we have a couple things to work on still.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We are working on.
Yeah, the house temperature. We can't get in a fight in the middle of this relationship talk, Nelly.
That's keeping it real though, right? Isn't that what this is called?
Yeah, let's keep it real.
Keeping it real.
Oh yeah, temperature issues.
Okay, we better not go into that because nobody needs to hear all that.
No, nobody needs to hear all that. So the last area that you would like to share, what would that be?
I people talk about it all the time, or in my world anyway. And it sounds so just so more conceptual than what I see going on sometimes, but it still is. It's so important to talk all the time, like to have communication, a communication that feels safe, right? I can come and tell you without setting you off. You can respond, but reacting that's now we're back in your issue. But finding a way to best communicate where you feel you can come to each other, and also reassessing. Don't be afraid to reassess your relationship not in a way that's confrontational at all, but you can, while you're communicating, you can look at ways that you can improve it. Yeah, like some of the things we're talking about, try applying that.
Well, I think that lends to trying to see your partner new every day. If we honor the fact that we're changing and our partner is changing subtle ways, and sometimes people change in big ways very quickly, or they have a change in heart. So this reevaluating things is sometimes necessary, and maybe what worked in the past is not going to work moving forward. I know for me, years ago when my partner said they wanted to talk, like instantly the hair on my neck would rise, and I'd be so nervous that I was in trouble, or
You're already defensive, right?
I would already be defensive, like
You feel protective.
I did something wrong, and I wouldn't be able to hear what my partner needed.
Yeah.
All I could hear is that I was wrong and they're not happy. And it's, in the past, I thought it was my job to make them happy. And it was a friggin' nightmare for me when my partner said, I think we need to
her
talk.
probably.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was a nightmare.
Thank you for not doing that now.
Yeah. When Lisa wants to talk, I'm all ears.
Yeah.
I don't assume that whatever she's going to talk to me is actually my problem. It may be something that I need to learn about her so that I can help her with that situation.
I love the dynamic we have so much. I realize that, I know we both realize that we don't own each other. We're in a relationship. So we've agreed to be in a relationship. We're both agreeing to it. That's a relationship with each of our interactions, right? And I feel like where we're coming from every time we communicate is important. Like, to check yourself and what is driving whatever I'm coming to you with, right?
That's right. And for me, I think in what makes this relationship so differently is that we've always made it a priority to hold each other in love. When I officiate weddings, and every wedding that I officiate, I always make an address to the couples. And in that address, I always say that we hold our partner in perfection. And I sometimes see people wiggling in their seats, and
do you?
Yeah, I think that's can be a stretch for some people to hold their partner in perfection. So I always say that in the wedding, the opening address in the wedding ceremonies. Now I follow that by saying we hold our partners in perfection, not that they will be perfect, but because it offers the highest respect for each other. So, and that's what I've always did in our relationship, is I've held you in the highest regard.
Absolutely.
And if I hold you in love, no matter what's going on in your world, if I step back and I remember to just hold you in love, it changes the situation greatly. Yeah,
these are sort of basic things for us, but we also have a spiritual. We bring our spiritual beliefs to each other as well, right? And again, that's not to confuse it with religion. We know that the divine is present when we do that.
That's right. And so in the past, if my partner was struggling, I would often think, okay, well, here's another thing I got to fix. And it's not for me to fix, but sometimes it's just all I need to do is first ask, how can I help you? And then second, if they ask something and I can do it, then I do that. If they don't want anything from me in that moment, all my job is to do is just to hold her in love. Sometimes a simple hug, or just touching her shoulders, rubbing her back, caressing, her hair is enough to kind of diffuse something that's she's struggling with. Knowing that your partner is just there to love you and support you, and not have to rush in and fix the problem. This morning was beautiful when I sat down for coffee, and he apologized to me for not supporting me the way he felt that I fully needed the last couple of days. And I actually didn't need him to, but I really appreciated that. And I just said to him, I'm not a victim, it's okay. But I do know that he's still there, no matter what. It's just that he was a little more busy. We had people around, and I think he's so intuitive. I think that he realized I'm working that issue, I've been working that issue as things are coming up pretty strong the last couple of days. But even if it's a delay, you can't be there in certain ways, to let me know that you are there even a couple of days later is so precious. I appreciate that so much. Yeah, it's important. Check in, right? Check in. And that's what you were just saying about reevaluating, checking in. So we're going to end today's discussion. I'm going to let Nellie tell the story about our first kiss because it's rather embarrassing for me, but I love being vulnerable. So yeah, let it rip.
Yeah, so he leaned in for the first kiss when it felt right, and he like literally swallowed my face, like from the top of my head to my chin. I thought, oh wow, okay.
Yeah, my mouth was open.
Yeah.
Like, kind of hit your
Did you know your mouth could open that wide?
No, not until that moment.
So I thought, okay, we'll try again, right? And then it happened again. And then it happened again. I thought, this guy's, for me, I got a built-in face washer.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it was hysterical, absolutely hysterical. I can't even believe we kept trying. Like,
I just wanted to kiss you in a way you'd never been kissed before.
And you did. You did.
You've never had your nose and chin kissed at the same time, have you?
No.
Hopefully this episode of relationships has brought something new to you. Maybe an inspiration to how you can deepen your relationship.
Mm-hmm.